Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Grand Prixquel Podcast, where we discuss all things feeder series. On today's episode, we are going to be doing a recap of the Italian F4 and FREC weekends at Monza. Your hosts for today are myself, Robin, Nova, Peter, and Alex. So, do we want to start with Italian F4?
A lot happened. Going into the weekend, we were hoping that we could maybe return to the normal three-race format because Monza's capacity, it's full with 49 cars and we had 49 entries.
Four-race format pisses me off really bad.
Yeah, but I've since learned that Monza has actually reduced their capacity to 36 cars from 49.
I think it's just for this.
Yeah, that Imola started last year is to prevent that because, even with less cars on track, they were all a bit crazy.
But also, it's not feeder series, but like just a few weeks back, we saw GT World's challenge, and it was like a huge crash into the first turn, specifically because we all know the first turn is the end of every single racing driver ever. So I think it really makes sense to, try to give every single driver 3 races if they qualify, instead of saying, you know, what's more likely that you get taken out, especially if you have such a huge grid, and crashes would be even more.
Yeah, like the races were already chaotic enough as is with like 30-something drivers, so imagine all 49 cars. That would be horrific.
Yeah, so in qualifying, the us racing dominance kind of continued with Eddie Robinson on pole overall, and also there was Noah Kill on pole for race 1.
Qualifying was nice in that Andy qualified P3 in his group. However, when it came to the first race, he was meant to start P3, got a 2-place penalty for what was it? The going over the maximum time allowed in qualifying. And like half the grid got penalties for it, 2 places each. So I remember Andy got one, Emily got one, I think Makanyani got one. There were a lot of drivers.
Penalties are going to be a common theme this weekend.
Yeah. So Andy started P5 instead of P3, which I'm a bit upset about.
Bondoa finally had a decent qualifying.
Finally.
Yeah, he's been struggling a lot, it seems like. Last weekend, the previous weekend, he qualified like P27 or something.
He's just too attached to his number.
Yeah, but race 1, race 1 was, I think, the race I enjoyed the most this weekend from Italian F4 because there was just so much happening. And we actually had racing up the front.
Can people stop taking Consani out of races? Please? I'm tired. I'm done.
That's just the French luck.
I'm done.
Like, generally, every single French driver has so much bad luck. It's how do you even do that?
It doesn't help that he drives for RHGP. There's already the bad luck there.
What did the French do to annoy the motor racing gods? Like, what did they do to deserve all of this? Because, I think it's impossible to name a French driver with good luck.
I'm always making fun of like Germany because I think it's a really, really interesting topic of how racing's here. But the thing is, for some reason, the French are even worse at it. And like the French have even more bad luck. And in Germany, you can point most of it down to the fact that we don't have any support anymore and stuff. But the French have fucking French F4, which is like organized by this whole organization. And it's still just, how do you do that? How do you have so many also French drivers generally, but not a single one of those has any type of luck?
The season has been miserable as an Andy fan. It's horrible. I'm done. Cancel Italian F4 2026. We don't need it anymore. But yeah, so when Andy got taken out by Killian, somehow Bondarev also got involved, and they both DNF'd. I don't remember how Bondarev was involved, but I think he went off behind Andy to avoid crashing into him or something like that.
Yeah, it basically happened right in front of him, and there's nothing he could really do. Unfortunate for both him and Kansani, they were as normal, we just blame it on us racing because we don't like them, do we?
Andy and Bondarev are both kind of interlinked. They both suffer together. I don't know what is going on over there, but they're both suffering together.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say every race, one of them DNFs, the other one DNFs either immediately or as a reaction or a cause of that. And
No, it's not because of it. It's because they're always DNF. It's because I feel like I'm looking at the stats side, and actually, Bondarev has not DNF'd so much this season, but I feel like every single time we talk about him, it's like, oh, he had a bad time. He was taken out. He crashed.
It's because it's at the end of the races. So technically, they're both classified, but they didn't finish the race.
And I feel like also we focus a bit more on him because I think the expectations for him were quite high this year, and
Yeah, everyone just said he would definitely win, but at the moment, I wouldn't even be sure if he finishes in the top 10 because he is on like P9 right now in the championship. Or wait, that's the old.
P13 actually. Yeah, he scored 1 point this weekend, so
Oh,
1 point. I can't even laugh. Andy scored nothing. Oh my
there's
god.
so much happening. I remember in race 1, okay, Peyton actually got killed by God knows who. Probably one of the us racing cars.
I don't know who car number 6 is. I need to check that.
wait, let me check. I can see. 6 is Oscar Repetto.
Yeah, so they got involved in an incident together.
Yeah, and also, I mean, the Thomas Berman subplot this race is crazy. He was just doing a bit of, like, I don't even need to watch this race and pay attention to him. Because he was going off-roading a bit. You know, the thing at the end where he broke his front wing somehow. He was going up and down the order and somehow he finished in the points. I don't even know anymore.
Savinkov was on the podium, and I don't like that. I'm not a fan of that.
It is an us racing 1, 2, 3.
Cancel the championship.
nuke it. Nuke IF4.
It should have been Kenya, but he got a penalty for something.
His penalty, what was it for? I think it was.
I couldn't figure out the Italian F4 docs website.
I think Kenzo's penalty was for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. I think
I mean, I don't care. Let him do that.
exactly. Free him. He's already had enough of a bad time.
He did nothing wrong.
Exactly.
Free my son.
But I think we should point out what we talked about before, because last year, like Prema and US racing were pretty up there, but I feel like especially this weekend, US racing was just so far ahead and like so incredibly strong. Because obviously part of it is also that they have like I think they have like 7 cars.
They do have 7 cars. Prema has 7 as well. Prema has 7 as well, right?
Yeah, I'm not part of the team. Prema also has 7 cars.
The problem is that all of the US racing drivers have a bunch of experience. They're all second or third year drivers. Meanwhile, Prema's lineup consists of 5 rookies, Bondarev at Cosma.
I feel like we should not call Ari Bansler and Iron Kralin like second year drivers because I know they did like technically F4 last season, but GB4 hardly counts.
I mean, it's the same with Killen as well. I mean, Killen came from AU4.
Yeah, Killian came from Australia, and
Okay, we should also not count him.
But I also think, though, it's at least some experience, which is more than the Prema drivers have.
yeah, exactly. Well, technically, Mahanyani isn't a rookie because he did for Southeast Asia last season.
I wanted to say Macagnani, wasn't he the one who tested F2 cars?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's Makagnani.
I'm not counting him as a rookie.
Yeah. But, like, Axoy did Formula Trophy, but Formula Trophy is, like, a fake series anyways.
Didn't watch the race in real life. You can't just say that's not real. I think I watched Axoy win in real life, which was cool. I was right next to the podium.
I think the us racing cars were just a step ahead this weekend in particular because the fact that all of their cars would be in like the top 15 is just kind of insane.
there's reason why US Racing is very, very clearly leading the team's championship. And I feel like I mean, we still have quite a few races in front of us, but the way it's going right now, I would not be, I would be everything but surprised if they won the team's championship.
I predicted them as teams champions as a joke. They were not meant to actually win it.
No, I'm not surprised. I don't think or I'm not sure. I would have to listen back if I predicted it, but I do remember that I really thought that they were for many years like the second biggest team next to Prema. And if we now look at, you know, the way that both teams have a driver lineup, it really makes sense.
Yeah, even if you discount the fact that most of Prama's lineup are rookies, they're just a bit weak, unfortunately.
Even the more experienced drivers aren't doing that well in Prema, whereas in us, they actually are, and they have that consistency which Prema lacks.
Yeah, I think that's going to sound so crazy, but I feel like Sam Listoke is kind of doing what we all expected Bondarev to do.
Oh no, he is.
And Cosma is doing what I expected Konsani to do.
I want to say one more thing about race one, and I'm going to have to find it, which is what I thought was really interesting to me personally. If I'm going to find it, oh my god, we have female drivers. That's really, really nice because I really like female drivers. And in race one, we had this weekend with Mafia Racing, I think it was, Rosandan Driver. Then I can't pronounce Dutch names. That's horrible. And she scored P17 on debut in Italian F4, which I think, if we're going to ignore the fact that Mafia Racing for some reason only has one car which gets on the podium and stuff, and one car which is, I don't know if it's the driver or the team, but I still think that P17, even if aided by the fact that quite a few drivers like DNF'd and crashed and exploded and whatever, I think it was a really good showing for her. And I need to point out that I saw her race in Nordic 4 some months ago, and she's kind of the one that me and some other people who are really into female drivers are kind of predicting we could see her show up again in multiple, you know, races and stuff. I think she won't return in Italian F4 so fast because the car is usually driven by Ginevra Panzeri, who has a lot of funding for some reason. But I think it's always worth looking out for these female drivers.
Before we move on to race 2, half the grid got penalties. 3 of the Premas did. Aksoy, Zheng, and Makinyani all got 10 seconds each. Each of them for causing a collision. I don't know what they fed those drivers before the race.
That's the spirit of Monza.
They were doing something. Killian got 25 seconds for killing Andy, which is deserved. Kenzo got 5 seconds for, like I said, I think it's for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. I could go check the doc, but I can't be bothered to go check the doc. Whatever. A couple other drivers that aren't really super relevant, unfortunately, also got 5 seconds. I don't know if it changed the points standings at all, but like whatever. So race 2.
The horror continued for Konsani.
Italian F4 is a fake series. I don't want to talk about it.
I mean, in this race, I quite enjoyed Axel's racecraft because he didn't have the best qualifying. I mean, he was starting around in P12 or something, around there. But I liked how he was able to make his way through the field and be able to make the right moves. Like, I think people kind of realised into turn 1, he can't really make moves because you just get forced over the chicane. It doesn't work. So instead, you began to see drivers instead making their moves down towards Curva Grande, and he made quite a few over there, and I felt like he's been quite smart, and he made his way up to P3, which it was quite fun to watch.
I think he's pretty much he is pretty much at the moment up to Valunga. He's won every single rookie race win. What? Like he's the rookie race winner every single time up to Valunga. It hasn't been updated for Monza yet, which I think he will in this race probably. Um,
Only race 2 he would have won in the rookie in Monza because
yeah, we're at race 2 right now, so I was thinking that, but like he still should have enough, lead to go. Then I think he should definitely win this one because it's. I mean, this far he's won 6 times in a row in every single race he participated in. So I think for the rookies, he's definitely doing a lot better than especially you predicted, Peter.
yeah, he's really impressed me, and he's usually been the best rookie. I mean, not that the others have. And I mean, saw Bonduev's struggles continue as well.
He was fighting for the race lead, and then suddenly he's off the track, and then he rejoins. And before we get into the conspiracy theory, Andy was like running in the brink of like not qualifying for race 4. Like he was running around P19, P18 ish. Bondarev goes off track, comes back on track in P18, and suddenly Andy is nowhere to be seen. So the conspiracy theory here is that something happened between them that like I don't know, maybe Bondarev like came straight into Andy's path or something. I don't know.
But I mean, props to Bonduev for being able to recover to prove at least P16 on track, for to pay for fewer penalties, which did mean he would qualify for the final because if he had not been able to get it back on track and up that high, he would have been a DNQ for the final.
It would have been really funny if Bondarev DNQ'd with Andy. But he qualified and Andy did not, so
Race 2 was a lot calmer than race 1. Race 1 was like, I think maybe they've realised, oh, we need to be a bit more. We can't be just crashing into each other, but that's in the spirit of F4 in a way that they just love to.
Walter got a drive-through penalty in the race for causing a collision. He goes and serves the penalty, but he serves it incorrectly. How do you serve a drive-through incorrectly?
Maybe he sped in pit lane or something.
But he served the drive-through incorrectly and so got a 6th place grid drop for the next race. Which I don't know whether that would have been race 3 or race 4, but whatever.
Would have been the final, I feel like, but
I don't know if he participated in race 1 or not.
because I remember in the final, he'd come back. He was starting quite far back in the final, so.
Oh yeah, right, yeah.
And then race 3, we saw our favourite win, race 3.
Ah, again.
This is like, he is dominating, but it's like, we've talked about this. It's just not what anybody expects. I mean, this podium is Samuelito, Berman, and Cosma.
I saw a stat on Twitter that said that if Samuelisto wins the first race in Mugello, he ties Behrman, Antonelli, and Slater for most wins in a row in Italian F4.
That's actually really fucking bad.
Horrible. You're tying 2 F1 drivers and a driver who is for sure getting to F1. I can't.
But I think it's also really good for anyone who wants to discredit drivers because I really respect all of them, but I'm just saying that if basically any guy who's in the right car can do it, maybe we should think about what that means.
I think this really should show F1 Twitter that the feeder series results aren't everything, and that if you have a fast enough car, you can literally do anything.
Oh yeah, and that there's so much context to race results and everything. I mean,
Yeah, you can't just read the wiki and say you know everything.
like if you're like in an AKM car, you're not going to be doing that. Nobody is. I mean, you could put Lewis Hamilton in an AKM car, and he's probably not winning.
Put Max Verstappen in a what the fuck is a PA racing car? Okay, turns out I just saw something. We need to we need to change myself. Ginevra Panzer was not racing with Mafi. I swear there was somewhere else where she was racing with them. Just so we have that cleared up because I don't want to get called out for my mistake.
We've been called out for mistakes before. The Academy episode, I forgot to mention James Anagnosiadis in the Merc Academy section, and I feel so bad for it to this day.
That's so bad, actually.
I feel so bad.
Okay, it's actually she actually replaced Igor Polak, who that sounds like a what's the word? A fucking slur. But the good thing is she already placed better than him, I think. No, actually they're tied, but you know. Okay. So if we are already back to talking about women, Emily Cuddy and Rafaela Ferreira crashed with a guy called Kuklana? I don't know how you pronounce it.
Kuklane.
Oh, thank you. Actually, what happened there?
I don't know. Suddenly, Kuklani is like turning, and Emily and Rafaela are both like, I don't know what happened, but either way, it ended.
They didn't show us.
They did, but I just don't know how to describe it in a way that makes sense for the podcast. But either way, the investigation ended with a no further action. So Emily deserves a gun. I think she should be freed from the hell that is Italian F4. Let her out of here, please.
She should nuke one car each race.
The thing is, from what I saw, I think neither her nor Ferreira would have qualified for the final anyways.
Yeah, but it's better to go out with like a P20 than to be taken out by another driver.
Yeah, obviously, but I think it just shows that I would have expected more from like R8 as a whole because
Do not expect anything from our race ever.
okay, because apparently R8 is just like really, really fucking bad. And that's so weird, actually.
I don't know what goes on anymore.
So we're still at race 3, right? And we saw, if I saw correctly, there's no penalties or anything. Emma Felba might actually scored a point. Unless, oh, actually, she scores 2 points then, I think.
Yeah, we have it on the doc if you would check that.
I'm looking at the doc, but there's like 20 different penalties also applying. And I'm not 100% sure if all penalties have been applied, if maybe penalties have been unapplied. Who knows?
The top 15 that we have on the doc is the corrected top 15 after penalties.
Okay, great. So we have points for Emma Feldmeier, which is again great. I think it's really, really sad because I expected Cuddy to do better, but also, you know, RA's GP. So she's, the girl with most points, but also just like 3 points. That's not that much of a difference. But Westcott finally scored a point after she was close to points quite a lot of, well, not a lot of times, but I know she finished like P16, P17, P18, like around that a bit. And it was really annoying because we all know that she should be able to do better. But it's good that she finally scored a point. That's very good. I like that. And then driver, the name's really shitty because if you don't know it, it's spelled Drijver, like driver, but there's a J in there. Why is there a J in there? She finished P23, which is, it's, fine. It's like not, oh my god, great, but if you're in a smaller team as like the second race she ever did in Italian full, I'm glad enough she didn't crash.
Yeah, she had a pretty clean weekend. In terms of penalties for race 3, Robinson ended up killing Savinkov at the end of the race, so he got 10 seconds for that. Bansal got 5 seconds for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. Hatimar also got 5 seconds for the same thing. So I think those two were, all three of those drivers were in the top 5. So it really changed around the podium and stuff.
That's why they let us racing cars in the top 5. They all got penalised.
And that's why Behrman got a podium. Behrman finished the race in P4, but with penalties, he moved up to P2.
Yeah, Samuel to Berman Cosma is like the most random podium of all time. I think I'm moving on to race 4 now. We had quite a few drivers get grid penalties for, but I mean that they're kind of irrelevant ones. I don't even notice them during the race. That is kind of there.
One of these drivers, Orsini, he got 6 places for the final, and then in the final, he got another 10 places for the next race, which will be at Mugello. I don't know what is going on over there. I have not paid a single ounce of attention to him, but he's just terrorizing everyone.
In Mugello, he'll get a 12-place grid penalty then. I mean, there's clearly a pattern here.
I don't know what he's doing, but he's doing something.
Yeah, race 4, and surprise, surprise, us racing 1, 2, 3.
At least Costoya was P4. He finally had a good race.
I mean, there were 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 9. And Quoling got killed by Axoy, but he would have been P4-ish without that, so.
That is actually so fucking bad.
This is horrible.
The always hell continued with Behrman killing Quaggy.
Actually don't know if Behrman killed him or if it was like a racing incident or something,
Or maybe Kenzo killed him.
because there was no investigation. There was nothing. Neither of them got penalties.
Not even a proper replay of what happened. But it didn't feel like we just saw them kind of going off.
I love how you can just crash an R Ace car and the race stewards just say, you know, whatever.
They hate us.
It is bound to happen anyways. During the always luck, maybe his car would have exploded.
And Behrman ended up recovering to P15 when Kenzo DNF'd.
I mean, Behrman had the most random weekend of all times. He was just doing God knows what this weekend, but. And then, I mean, Costoy kept on cutting the chicane, which was hilarious.
Genuinely was questioning, does he know how to take the chicane?
He literally got a black and white flag for it.
Just like every single time they passed by that one chicane, Costoya cut it.
He only stopped after the black and white flag, which.
Maybe he didn't know the track layout. Maybe he thought that's just how he drive it. Do you know that? Have you asked him?
I mean, given the chaos of turn 1, I mean, it's just.
He was just trying to avoid crashing into someone in turn 1.
Something happened to Bondarev, like, we saw him pitting and his rear wing looked a bit off, and then he retired from the race.
We never got a replay.
I mean, I assume maybe somebody went to the back of him, given it's the rear wing, but who knows? It's one of. I mean, there's so many mysteries from this weekend.
Priest's direction was kind of horrible this weekend. I mean, TV direction, sorry, not.
I mean, it's been a common theme, like, even in FREC, which we'll get onto, the TV direction was questionable. You know, they love showing us replays at the wrong time.
Yeah, like in the first FREC weekend when they were showing us drivers going off into the gravel, but then they wouldn't show us the fight for the lead.
We still don't know what happened to KDB in race 3.
But I just feel like the problem in Italian F4 is also we have like 30 drivers and it's so hard to decide between Bondarev, who's somewhere not in the front, and you have, you know, so much happening at once. It's always so difficult.
I think, yeah, in F4 it's more excusable, but when we get onto FREC, I mean, the misdirection in FREC is a bigger issue because they're missing things at the front, which.
We need to finish this race before we can go to FREC. And what I wanted to say about this race too is that I thought it was quite interesting that in the end we had 3 female drivers all behind each other with Emma Felbermeyer in P24. Then driver something like that, P25, and Peyton Westcott in P26, which I thought was especially interesting because we all kind of rate Felbermeyer and Westcott and we know where to place them. But it's interesting to me that they are, you know, broken up with the driver whose name I can't pronounce.
I think Westcott went rallycross at some point during the race. Something happened to one of the R races, and I was like, which R race was that? And then it ended up being Peyton, but I don't actually remember what happened. I just remember her going off the track and then rejoining.
My point is that even if she had some bad luck, definitely she did, it's really interesting and it's a good sign for me that the driver whose name I can't pronounce is pretty much up there with her and also Emma Felbermeyer, who, she scored points this weekend. I think she qualified in an alright place for the final because she finished um the first two races in like P17 and P15 or P14 then I guess. I don't know. But the thing is, I think she was not like dead last because I saw that they were all kind of lucky because like Aksoy, fell back and some others fell behind them in the end. But the fact that just timing wise, the driver whose name I can't pronounce managed to stay so close to a driver like Felbermeyer, who has scored points before, who, she's doing something. And I think that's a very good sign for her.
In terms of penalties, Aksoy gets 8 places for causing a collision with Krailing. Cosma got 5 seconds for leaving the track and gaining an advantage, and like I mentioned earlier, Orsini got 10 places for pushing drivers off track and causing collisions all in one race.
That sounds so terroristic.
And like, he's not even a driver that anyone really pays attention to, unfortunately, so no one knows what happened. But he was terrorizing the grid, apparently. And I think this is an example of, the stewards seeing that a driver has done like the same kind of incident before and so making the penalty harsher than it would normally be. They did this to Andy in another weekend as well. But just if you're a repeat offender of a certain like kind of incident, they will just get more harsh when they're penalizing you. But yeah, the championship is interesting, to say the least. So Wikipedia is not updated at the moment. So we've had to go off of, the graphic that they show at the end of the race. So if there's anything inaccurate here, that is not our fault.
The graphic and a bit of our own maths to try to work it out.
Yeah, because the graphic didn't include Cosma's 5-second penalty, so we've had to make a couple adjustments for that. So currently, Samuel still leads the championship on 228 points. Behind him is David Cosma on 181. Aksoy has fell down to P3 in the championship on 166. Was he leading the championship before this weekend?
Yes.
Wow.
But yeah, he didn't have, he got lots of penalties this week, basically.
Yeah, penalties and just overall not a great time. Sevenkov is P4 on 150 and Bansel is P5 on 143. That's the top 5. Drivers who are not in the top 5, but I think it's still important to mention them. Makinyani is P11 on 88 points, Bondarev P13 on 73, Craigie P14 on 68, Kostoya P20 on 48, and Konsani is not even in the top 20.
That sums up his season so far, I feel like.
Because the graphic only shows the top 20 drivers, I could not tell you where Konsani is in the championship, which is horrible.
It's never been so over.
There is no way we recover from this. 2 DNQs in a row. We are not recovering. If we manage a top 15 in the championship by the end of the year, I will be cheering.
I think right now you're a bit dramatic because I think top 15 should still be possible.
There's always... How do they do so well in the Middle East and then combust in Italy?
The thing is, our car is not as bad as it was last year. It's just our drivers are A, unlucky, and B, do not know how to keep it clean.
Who the skill issue then?
If you look at how our race qualified in Monza last year, comparing it to this year, last year our best qualifying in Monza was like a P17. And I remember Powell qualified like P27. We had Andy qualifying P3 this time, so the car is better, at least in terms of qualifying pace. It is better. It's just, we are so unlucky. I'm done. Let's move on. Let's move on to Frank. So first thing we'll talk about in FREC is that Thomas Straubin was only there for Spa and Zandvoort, so he's been replaced by Kyoho Lee. However, there is a FREC round, which clashes with both GB3 and Eurocup 3. So we will definitely be getting another new driver in that CL Motorsports seat at some point. No clue who they would put in the seat, but we're gonna get another driver that's not Straubin or Lee. And obviously not Frey either, because he's like ended things with the team.
Yeah, so I feel like the qualifying one was, Kane being on pole, Olivier second. Kind of what we expect, but then, it is very much kind of business back to usual.
The two championship leaders qualified on the third row together, Anzahari and Weldon. So they were 5th and 6th.
But given how Monza is, as long as you're decently in the top 10, it's fairly easy to recover positions. It's not as detrimental as maybe a circuit where you can't overtake. Then you're more kind of screwed if you aren't in that top 10.
Yeah. So for race 1, we had a big crash into turn 1 where Giacardi just cut the corner and just went straight into two Rodens and Ares. And who else was it? I don't remember who else.
One of the Tridents, I think.
Yeah, well, was it Popov?
Yeah, it was Popov for race 1.
Yeah, so Popov, Sano, Ninovic, Suworthan, and obviously Jacardi, and we're missing a driver. There was another driver. I forgot who else was involved in the crash.
There was a lot happening in that first 5 minutes of race 1.
What I have here with retired drivers on the wiki page is Popov, Ninovic, and Sano and Seaworthen, and Macedo, and obviously Jakarta.
I think Macedo was also involved. Macedo was involved in that.
Oh, yes, yes.
He's the driver we were missing. So yeah, big crash on the opening lap. I'm surprised they didn't red flag it, because we had a 10-minute safety car instead.
We just love safety car. I think that I want to red flag it maybe because Italian F4 was scheduled like right after, so that would just mean delaying everything.
Yes, but we got less racing because of it.
Yeah, it was still quite fun. What was Seb Weldon doing? Because he dropped to P10 on that first lap.
He wanted to test himself.
Probably just, I don't know, I was gonna say he tried to avoid the crash, but the crash happened behind him, didn't it?
Yeah, it happened behind him. I don't know what he was doing.
So the commentators kept getting confused between Weldon and Abkazaba, because they're both the two orange MPs, because the third MP is Chi, who has the Aston Martin livery.
And they were running right next to each other. Yeah, because there's an incident with Ali Daheri, which one of them, which we figure was Abskavava, because he was the one who was next to him on track at the time, pushed him wide.
Yeah, it was the two MPs were like right behind each other, and Aldari got into an incident with the one that was behind, which the commentators kept calling Weldon, but it was actually Abkasava.
Yeah. And this one happened by the TV direction, because the TV direction, they're busy showing Kane B crossing the line where we want to see the battle for P3 because
For P3 between the three MPs was insane, and I'm so sad we didn't get to see it properly. Weldon and Abkasava crossed the line at the exact same time, down to the 1000th.
they ended up giving it to Abskavava. Maybe I thought I'd given it to Weldon because Weldon qualified higher, but actually no, he got out qualified by Abskavava. That's why Abskavava is ahead on paper.
And she was a 10th behind them. So I'm really mad we didn't get to see that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the FREC races this weekend because even for the lead, I remember when Olivier attempted to challenge him, but then he got round back fairly quickly.
He was in the lead for like a corner, and then KMB took it back from him.
Oh, you've had your fun now. My turn again.
It was a smooth switchback, I'm not gonna lie. I did start getting very stressed though at certain bits, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was too busy celebrating the fact that Olivieri got into the lead that I didn't notice that KMB took it right back.
It was so bad for updating. I was like, oh, he dropped down to P2. Oh no, he's back up to P1.
But technically, Olivieri had a really solid weekend, I'd say. If we ignore race 2,
Race 2 is not real. It can't hurt me.
Before we get to race 2, I think we need to finish race 1 first.
Oh yes,
get
of
ready,
course.
get down with it.
Couple penalties post race again. Costa got disqualified. I don't remember what he got disqualified for.
Some technical infringement.
Kostic got 6 seconds for using race mode too early, and Stoltermatis got 10 seconds for using race mode too early. Don't know why 6 seconds specifically.
It is quite a common penalty this weekend, actually. I mean, it's interesting. We've not really seen this penalty before, have we?
I don't think so.
But I do like these more specific penalties, even if they look a bit silly. I think it's better if, especially with a technical thing like that, it's probably just like someone hit some button too early. And like it happens, I don't think it's worth giving like a huge penalty that will totally destroy the race if it wasn't done maliciously.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't know what exactly they used to judge how much of a penalty they should give, and why Kostic got 6 seconds and Stoltermatis got 10, but whatever.
Probably how long they used it for, I'd imagine.
Maybe.
Okay, like, if you use it for 1 second, you get this amount. If you use it for 2 seconds, you get this amount.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, you're probably right.
That makes the most sense to me, at least.
Okay, perfect. Can we now go to race 2?
Yes.
God, what a race it was.
I'm saying that Olivieri had a pretty solid race because, or race weekend, because that race was ass, but like, I don't think it was his fault.
Yeah, he literally just got rammed into by Macedo. Just in the chaos of everything in turn 1, just Macedo went straight into the back of him and got a penalty for it post race, but I'm still mad about that.
Yeah, but if that didn't happen, it would probably have been a good points haul again, which means he would have had, I'd argue, his best weekend so far.
Argument, it is his best weekend so far, and it's a good thing that the DNF was in the sprint race, because obviously less points are awarded there.
I mean, yeah, but he still would have loved to, get a handful of points still.
Yeah, but I think he mentioned in his post-race interview after his win in race 3 that it was a good thing that the DNF happened in race 2 and not one of the other races.
What else happened?
Oh, Doherty went from I don't know where he started, but he won the race.
Everybody hated KNB this race because Sane pushed him well on lap 1.
I really did think that was Olivieri, but it wasn't.
I mean, yeah, both Sano and Francot got 10-second penalties for forcing him off the track.
They had it out for him this weekend. They're just here for the Olivieri title charge, trust me. Sano just wanted to help his teammate.
And then, I mean, Weldon, he finished P2 on track. Then he got a 10-second, but 2 separate 5-second penalties. I mean, yeah, I counted 10 drivers got penalties after the race. 10.
That set of investigations had the drivers in the steward's room until 11 p.m. that night. Like, the last investigation was Russell, who was like the summons document said he needed to be at the steward's room at 11:15 p.m. and they had qualifying the next day at 8:30, I think it was.
I'd be home, like, I don't give a fuck.
Let them get their sleep.
The final results were only classified at 2 in the morning.
Yeah, the stewards had a long weekend with whatever the hell these races were. I mean, I don't think. I mean, even Aldo, there's this moment where I'm not too sure what happened in the build up to it. Because, again, the TV direction missed it. But, like, he got swamped by everyone using race mode, maybe, and he fell back, like, 4 positions. Again, not too sure what happened there. Been nice if the TV would show it, but
How? After being forced off track twice, KMB ended in 5th.
Maybe they didn't force him off track hard enough.
Because he inherited like 4 positions from penalties.
Yeah, he inherited 3 because on track he finished in P8 and then it was P5.
But yeah, so penalties. There's a lot of them. Ninovich, 10 seconds for crashing Popov. Weldon, 10 seconds, 2 5-second penalties for leaving the track and gaining an advantage and overtaking off track. Sano, 10 seconds for forcing KMB off. Franco, 10 seconds also for forcing KMB off. Macedo, 10 seconds for crashing into Olivieri. So we're then 5 seconds for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. Costa, also 5 seconds for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. Russell, 6 seconds, converted into a 3-place grid job because he DNF'd in the race for a race mode violation. Munoz, 10 seconds, converted to 5 places for the next race for forcing Machio off track. And Apkazawa, 10 seconds, converted to 5 places for contact with Gauda. Deep breath after that.
I mean, I've said it before. If everyone gets a penalty, no one gets a penalty.
And so in the end, after being on a reverse grid pole, Dupe ended up on the podium with Hana and Al-Lahiri.
Yeah, I mean, Andre Dupé podium. Who would have expected that?
It's a sprint race.
Okay, but like, it's generally his first points of the season, so
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, he'll be happy, but like, who would have expected that?
So I guess he started on reverse grid pole, so then that put him where he needed to be.
Enzo was there. Enzo Deligny was there for the race to watch his best friend on reverse grid pole, which was very cute. I really
Yay.
enjoyed that. I liked that they interviewed Enzo before the race.
Didn't you also share the picture where Alex Bowell is in the line for the autographs?
There was a lot of old races at this weekend. I saw a picture of Konahi.
Yeah, everyone was there. Deligny, Kolnagi, Yamakoshi, Powell.
I mean, even Ollie Berman was there as well.
Okay, but it's Monza. I would also be there if I was racing Dreamer.
But yeah, there was a picture of Powell talking to KMB after race 1, and then there's a picture of him waiting in line in the autographs, and then there's a picture of him getting autographs from the MP drivers.
Great. Beautiful.
Like literally you could just see Weldon signing something and she is just laughing.
You'd think they have a special line for like, I'd argue, I don't know, VIPs.
You'd think that Powell could just like ask them for autographs.
No, I think that he would get like he would be allowed to jump the line, I think.
Like imagine you're in line and suddenly you just see Alex Powell is the guy behind you and he's waiting to get his
I would feel bad. I would let him go past me.
he's trying to get stuff signed by like the promo drivers who he's already friends with. I think that's ridiculous. And I can't stop laughing about it. But back to racing because this is so off topic. Quali 2, Olivieri was on pole, first pole of the season. We have never been so back.
Yeah, I think what basically set K and B and Oliveira apart in qualifying was whoever was last on track, because in qualifying 1, K and B's group was last, and in qualifying 2, Oliveira's group was last, and
Yeah, it really is just track evolution, I think.
it's quite about having the 2 qualifying sessions, because then you both, one time you're first, one time you're last, it evens out.
Yeah. So Rashid's qualified, what was like P25 or something like that?
Yep.
Yeah, so not a good qualifying from him. I don't know what happened. I did not watch qualifying. I was asleep.
He, for some reason, in that qualifying group, like group, whichever one Nakamura, Berta, and Aldahar were in, they only started going out in like the last 5 minutes of qualifying. Everyone else was like there's only 1 or 2 people going on the first 5 minutes, and then everyone else went on the last 5 minutes. So I'm not sure what happened there.
Yeah, but that's Monza for you. And what I saw from it and what we also heard in China 4, like, it's always Monza and the qualifying and trying to gain any kind of advantage and trying to get slipstream, it's always so bad. So I was, well, I wasn't happy because there's still some drama, but it was generally not the worst quali session we've ever seen in Monza.
So a couple of drivers out of position, mainly Lahiri, but Dupé got a penalty for impeding according to the doc. I don't remember seeing that, but
Yeah, he got a three place grid penalty for impeding.
so race 3. A lot happened. Sauter murdered Daryanani on the start. And I think we have like a spectrum here of how fast drivers go during safety car restarts. Olivieri goes immediately. Samalisto waits until the very last second, and that's just a spectrum.
I mean, it works really well for Olivieri.
On the spectrum of Olivieri to Samalisto, where do you do your safety car restarts? Like, we could assign every single driver, like, a place on that spectrum. Olivieri got away with murder.
Oh my gosh!
We need to stop saying it's murder. That sounds so bad and we're going to get cancelled.
We're not okay.
We really should have things to get cancelled, I feel.
Olivieri got away with pushing K and B off track. Okay.
And according to the DNF.
I don't know how he didn't get a penalty for it, but I am very, very glad he did not get a penalty for it.
I mean, I think he should be a penalty because then Weldon gets P1 and extends his championship lead. But it's also good for Weldon. K and B does not finish the race because that gave him the championship lead. So I am in two minds about it.
Olivieri winning the race puts him only 20 points behind El-Lahiri and like 36 points behind the championship lead, by the way. The championship charge is so on. We are going to win this. Trust me.
Which means that I should really go to Hockenheim.
You really should.
Yes,
That's
go.
Yeah.
Do it.
Oh.
I should.
This podcast situation is a little bit rough, by the way, because I'm a diehard Olivieri fan. Nova is a diehard Nakamura Berta fan, and Peter's a diehard Weldon fan. And Alex is just here because Monza.
He just loves Monza.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a rough situation in the Grand Prixquel podcast house.
Nova's depressed because K and B was just dead. I mean, I'd say Rob is quite happy. I mean, and I'm just overjoyed because Weldon, I mean, he, apart from race 2, which we ignore, he had 2 really strong races otherwise, especially race 3.
Yeah, we all ignore race 2.
Race 2 is, he cannot hurt us. But like race 3, I mean, Weldon, he started around P7 or so, and then, he made his way up. He made these overtakes, and
Last lap was so those last few laps actually there was so much going on, and again just TV direction was horrible. So Adari just went into Apkazava. We got a safety car for it, and then we got a last lap shootout because for some reason we love last lap shootouts as if nothing ever goes wrong.
But it's cool, especially around Monza.
Everything goes wrong during last lap shootouts.
I mean, Yuki Sano, oh my god, he was just... What did they feed him during the safety car? Because...
That was crazy.
He went from P7 to P3 in that last lap. He was a little bit aided by the fact that Gomez and Popov had a collision, but even then, he just overtook everyone in front of him and ended up P3, and it's his first podium in Europe. And what a way to get your first podium.
And in Monza.
I mean, the final few laps is just chaos because the final safety car was brought out after Aldeher and Amskavava had a collision. Nobody's fault really. The steward said no further action. Then, as we mentioned on the restart, Popov and Gomez collided.
I'm surprised that Gomez managed to finish the race. Let alone, I'm pretty sure he was like P4.
Yeah, he was in P4. And I also wanted to point out, which one thing I'm really happy about is the fact that Joao Russell also finally scored his first points with a really good P6. So that's really good for him, and I'm very happy.
A race was really good for everyone except KMB.
Oh, kill me. I also it's interesting how fast that investigation got shut down.
Yeah, exactly. We got it during the race. I was worried that we'd have to wait like hours post race for them to be like, oh yeah, we're giving Olivieri a 10-second penalty after he celebrated his win at his home race. But no, they just
But they wouldn't do it because an Italian winning in Monza is not going to get penalized.
for once I benefit from a driver not getting a fair penalty. I'm still not over Euro Cup 3. I'm not over that. But yeah, so again, surprised that Gomez still managed to finish the race in P4 after going airborne.
And finally, we need to talk about the penalties from this race, because every single race had penalties. So Rene Frankot got 10 seconds for going off the track. Abhi Guevara got 3 place grid drop because he jump start. Macedo 8 seconds for race mode violation. Lee 15 seconds for race mode violation. Giacardi 6 seconds for race mode violation. How did so many drivers get a race mode violation penalty?
I don't know what they're doing with that button.
How long did Lee use it to get 15-second penalty? You just use it the whole first lap when you're not. With race mode, you can't use it on like the first lap of the race or the first lap after safety car restart. So
I guess they were using it after the safety car restarts. Because I assume they know that they can't use it on the first lap.
you'd think they can't. I mean, this is like IndyCar push to pass.
Exactly. But yeah, that race was insane, and it has a good amount of championship implications. So
Yeah, I mean the top three. The top three are kind of breaking away with Weldon, Kane, B, Alderhary. The lead keeps on switching between them. Kane beat. Alderhary was leading going into the weekend. Then Kane B took the lead after race 1, and then Weldon was temporarily back in the lead after race 2 before his penalties, and then Weldon took the lead back after race 3. These three. Aldehary's dropped back a bit because he had a bit of a weaker weekend, but it's still only 16 points separating the top three. That is not a lot.
Olivieri is really closing the gap down. He was like at least 50 points back, if not more, a couple weekends ago. Now he's 20 behind Lahiri and 36 behind Weldon. So if he really locks in, I really do think he could join in that title fight. Because he's on 85 points at the moment.
I've really enjoyed watching Weldon, and I feel like he just needs to sort out his sprint races, because in both sprint races, he's got penalty. He's finished like 19th and 20th. Spa one got cancelled, of course, but in the future races, he's been so good, and he's always been able to. Spa was a bit of an off weekend, but we saw Zandvoort was amazing from him. Double win.
I think it's really funny, like the weekends that all of the championship contenders had, or like most people at the top of the championship had, because like if you saw the Instagram post from FREC, it was like, who impressed you the most this weekend? And it was like, guy who finished P2, DNF P1, guy who finished on the podium twice and DNF'd, or like P20 or something like that, guy who finished P1, P5, and DNF. And just all of them had one bad race each. It was really funny.
There's only one driver who finished in the points in all three races. Do you want to guess who it is?
I know it because I saw the list.
Yeah, Gomez.
Oh, but Gomez?
So
Yeah,
and
Gomez.
Hannah also.
Oh, Hannah had a hell of a weekend.
Oh yeah, I forgot about him.
Just completely fake news. Thank you.
Fake news being spread on the Grand Prixquel podcast.
Hannah had actually a really good weekend because
Get P3, P2, and P8. Like,
he'd
that's
actually been
really good.
struggling a bit before, I feel like, but he finally had a solid qualifying, and Weldon was stuck for so long behind him.
What I think is most interesting about the standings right now is that we have generally 3 teams fighting for the win. And I'm glad because what I said at the beginning of the year is right. MP is a really strong team, and especially around tracks like Monza that they know very well. I think they're very clearly a real threat and real team that can, compete for the title. And there's reason why they are in P2 in the team's standings and only like 10 points behind our ace.
I think it's really interesting how ours just like, because we had a really bad weekend with, or like a couple of really bad weekends with Olivier and Sano. It was just Alahi that was scoring points. But then we've locked in. All of our drivers are scoring points now. We're all scoring. Am I a part of it? They're all scoring
Yes, you're a
podiums.
part.
Yeah, I'm one of the drivers. They're all scoring podiums now. And we've really locked in P1 in the team's standings now. And I really just hope they can keep up the pace, really.
I love you, but like we're not locked in. We haven't won this yet because I think it's very telling that the biggest the biggest like rival to our ace will definitely be MP with Weldon, who's clearly ready to win the championship, but also the fact that Apkazava and she can also definitely score some good points. Um, what I think is really interesting is that I feel like for the first time in quite a few seasons, we genuinely have a title fight where I'm unsure who's going to win this because I know everyone said it would be Nakamura Berta, but I think it's not even delusional to say that Sebastian Weldon is definitely on his level. And if things fall right, Rashid Al Bahari is more of what we've seen before, where we have a driver that could win it, but like no one kind of really expects it, and it's more of a maybe. But I think we generally have at least three drivers who are in contention here, and I think it's compared to like seasons with Slater and Antonelli. I think none of them are as clear of the rest of the grid as they were.
I think depending on how the next couple weekends go, we really could see two RS drivers in the title fight, and I think that would be really cool. Maybe that's just my bias. Maybe it is definitely just my bias, but I think it would be really cool to see Olivieri and Lahiri both compete for the title alongside, obviously, like the obvious picks of Weldon and KMB. And I really do hope that Olivieri can, lock in. He's seemed to fix up his starts. Because that first weekend he stalled on all three starts, so he's really locked in on that now. Um, and yeah, if he has another good weekend like he did this time, who's to say we don't see him in the title fight as well?
I mean, yeah, I technically agree, but I think also if we're looking back at like the last few seasons, or I'm looking back at specifically last season, I think he's someone that kind of reminds me of Evan Gilter. And you know that I absolutely love Gilter, but he's had some real bad luck and couldn't quite keep up with the front. But then again, I don't think that neither Key nor Weldon are on the same level as someone like Slater. So if both like the top drivers and I mean Gilter and the same way, forget the name, oh my god. Olivieri, if they're, closer together, it could happen, but I'm on that level where I don't think we're going to see like so much surprising things, even if I would love to see it.
Hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and as always, let us know your thoughts and comments.
Next weekend we're covering F2 and F3 on Red Bull Ring, as we all do, and I fucking love Red Bull Ring, and if I was not called Monza Ring, I would be called Red Bull Ring Lover because we saw so much great action there the last few years, especially in F2 and F3, and I think it's one of those tracks that's really, really perfect for feeder series because it's perfect. But I don't want to take up too much, which we're going to talk about next week.
Yeah, see you guys next week.